Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Maureen O'Connor from Quilters Heaven in Northbrook, Illinois, and I am the Opinionated Quilter. Today's episode, number 128, is On Point Setting Triangles. But before we get to that, I'd like to share with you the law of unintended consequences. Behind me, we have a table runner that I decided to make to showcase some of our Halloween fabric. And in my effort to show off one of the fabrics, I didn't consider how big my block was going to get. So let this serve as a warning to you. And when I make a table runner, oftentimes I don't use a pattern. I just pick a block that I want to make. I have this old block tool that you can go through and see all the different patterns in there. Now the newer versions come in a book like this, but you can just flip through, find a block you want to make, decide the size you want to make, and go from there. And the size in this one was my issue. I didn't consider the final size of the block. I said in my head, I want to make this block big. And the reason I wanted to do that was so that I didn't have to try to fussy cut. I could get a big enough piece with enough of the motifs in it that I didn't have to worry about where I was going to cut. Now this is a king's crown block, and it probably doesn't look like one to you because I ended up cutting off the sides. But if you picture a full square of this here and here, then it would look like a king's crown block to you. So in choosing to make this an 8-inch block, well, if you know how the king's crown block works, it's the same as the sawtooth star. The size of the finished block is twice what this block is. So I went from the 8-inch center to a 16-inch block. Now remember, on point math. With On Point math, you multiply the size of the block, which in this case is 16, by 1.414, and that's the measurement from point to point. That makes a 22.5, it's actually a little slightly fraction bigger than 22.5-inch block. Now if I put a border on that, that to me is just too wide for a table runner. So not only is it too wide, if this were here, it's also too long. My table is not 22.5 times 3, which is what, 67.5? And again, it's a fraction bigger. So call it 68 inches. That's too long for a table runner for me. Well, on the length, you can at least hang it over the table. You could put it on a buffet. You could do some other things with the length. But I do have a too wide table runner, and it is not ideal on my table if you're going to have placemats and food. So what did I do to fix it? I cut these off. I still wanted to put the little purple edge on it. I only made it an inch finished. I'm happy with it. It now doesn't actually even look like a king's crown block. I like it. It shows the fabric. It will work. But just remember to think through to the next step. I did not do that, and my project suffers a little bit for it. That's my opinion portion, law of unintended consequences. Let's get to the episode. Setting triangles for On Point quilts. There's two important things. One is the correct size, and one is the correct orientation. So the correct orientation, I mean, is it quarter square triangles or half square triangles? And the reason you want to have the correct one is so that you have straight of grain on the outside of your quilt. So here's a little drawing of part of an On Point quilt. I've got 4 blocks here. These are side setting triangles, and this is a corner triangle. Your corner triangles should be half square triangles. So you need 2 squares, each cut in half diagonally, to make the 4 corners. And you can see if you take this half square triangle and move it over here, this is the diagonal, this is the straight of grain. That's what you want. On these side setting triangles, you use quarter square triangles. And you take a large square, you cut in half diagonally twice, and the number you need depends on the size of your quilt. So you can actually either, if you're making it up yourself, the pattern up yourself, you can just count how many you need. But if you're following a pattern, they will tell you how many you need. So you can see here's a quarter square triangle, here's the straight of grain, here's the bias, the diagonal. And if you move this over to here, you can see here's your straight of grain and your diagonals. And that's what you want to have. Now, I have come across in a recent YouTube video that I watched, someone reversing those, making quarter square triangles for the corners and half square triangle for the side setting. And what she did was she took her original block, the exact same block that she used here, and simply cut 1 into quarter square triangles for the 4 corners, and cut, I don't know how many because I don't remember how big it was, but as many as she needed squares into half square triangles for the side setting. And what happens if you reverse those two, the quarter squares for the half squares? Well, your bias all now goes on the outside. You have your straight of grain here, and you have your bias here. What's the result of that? And I can tell you, I see it all the time on my long arm. Think wavy borders. These edges stretch. So when people put borders on, they're putting more fabric in the border than the width or length of the quilt. So you get these wavy borders that then you have to try to work in the quilting, and you have a lot of bubbly fabric in your quilt top rather than nice and flat. The other issue is the triangles that you cut from the original block, because the square isn't big enough, you get pieces that are too small. So you cut off points. And I'm going to show you exactly how that works. Give me a second, we're going to switch out the boards. I made sample blocks to demonstrate why this method is not good. Here is the main block, and then I took one and cut it in quarter square triangles and put one up here, and I took one and cut it into half square triangles and put it here. And what you can see is this is the exact same height as this. Why? Because this is exactly a half of one of these. To know what size setting triangles you need to cut, you could do the math yourself. But why? There are charts available for you. I've shown these before. This is Bonnie Hunter's. You can get it at quiltville.com, and it gives all the finished sizes of blocks, the side triangle size square, and the half square triangles for the corner squares on it. I printed this in 2013. We still use this same chart in the store when we're trying to figure out what we need. Also, Kimberly from the Fat Quarter Shop has also an excellent chart. And you can go on either one of these two websites. They let you print them out for free. If you like On Point settings, I highly recommend you do so. And I like putting them in a page protector so that it lasts from 2013 to 2024. So I went to the chart and I said, this is an 8-inch block finished. So what size do I need to cut my side setting triangles and corner triangles? So the chart tells me that, and I have the wrong piece of paper. The chart tells me for the side setting, I need 12 5/8, and for the corner, I need 6 5/8. Now, if I were doing this for a quilt for myself, I up those because I much rather have a little extra on the edge and trim down to even than cut it exact and then not so perfectly and have my triangles too small. So if I were doing it for myself, my 12 5/8 would probably become 13 and my 6 5/8 would become 7. For this example, I used the exact measurements. I took a square of fabric at the 12 5/8, cut it into quarter square triangles for the side setting, and the 6 5/8 for the half square triangles for the corners. And you can see right away that this is bigger than this. If I line this up at the edge, see how this goes over the point here? You know when you're sewing triangles to straight pieces that you have to have that little extra. You know, those are the dog ears that we cut off. You're familiar in piecing with needing a longer piece for the half square triangle than you do for the squares. Same with here. This is the half square triangle, and you can see that this extends out over both edges where this exactly meets it. So, what do you do if you want this look and you don't want solid pieces like I made? You make them yourself. This is a quarter square triangle. Excuse me, this is a half square triangle. And then I added the same size piece for here that's here. And then instead of squares, I did the correct size half square triangle. So this is just slightly bigger. So if you look at this, I have an extra little bit here. I have an extra for seam allowance that I don't have here. And then same with these, the side setting. Now you can see that this is really huge. Well, when I do these, I don't really know the exact measurement I need to make this. I could really do the math and get much closer than I did. This one I got real close. This one I say, it's okay if it's too big. This is still in the correct orientation of being a quarter square triangle. Once I sew this in, remember this part goes here. Let me just show you. It's really okay if this is too big. So this goes here. This can all be trimmed even. And then there's your 1/4 inch seam allowance that you don't have here. So I sewed a unit like this together to show you how the points get cut off. And I drew the seam allowance on here. So you can see right away that this isn't out far enough. You can see it on this side too, but you can see it here. And once you sew a border or binding or anything on here, corner cut off, points cut off. And that happens all the way through. This is the same thing, if you recall, a couple weeks ago when I had my customer's quilt where she had a straight setting and then they had you cut it into 3 pieces and turn it around to make it on point. All of her points were cut off. It's because of this exact same thing where there's no seam allowance allowed for in these pieces, whereas the ones that I made the pieces big enough so you had enough seam allowance. So whenever you see a pattern that tells you to take the same size block as is in the body of the quilt and cut those for the side setting and corner square triangles, you know immediately bias on the outside and not the right size side setting triangles. So it's up to you. Do you want to build your own, or do you want to just not do this pattern? It's entirely up to you. So that's the episode. Let's get to the winner of the giveaway and the announcement of the new giveaway. The winner of the Scrap Hunter Star is Laura Raymond, 1435. Please email me at quiltersheaveninc@gmail.com. And don't forget the INC. It's quiltersheaveninc@gmail.com. I say so because I've had a few people try to contact me and they don't have the correct address. So that's where you want to send me your info so I can get your winning quilt top out to you. This week's giveaway is a trio of table runners. These were all made for store samples. I did not measure them out for you. I will hold them up so you can see them. And the last one is a card trick pattern. And again, there's nothing wrong with them. Just too many projects to do and finish. I don't have enough days and hours left in my lifetime to get them all done. So I hope there's someone out there who would love to finish them and have them. And if you'd like to enter to win, please like this video, comment, and subscribe. And in the comment, trio of table runners, and you'll be entered to win, and we'll announce next week who that person is. That's today's episode. Thank you so much for watching. Keep the comments coming, and until next time, happy sewing.